Welcome to this course on Law of International Organizations. We have as Lesson 1, Session 1, Introduction and Starting Point. My name is Carlo Pagan. I am an Italian citizen and I am a permanent resident in Switzerland. I am professor of Law of International Organization at both Swiss UMEF University and Dunia University. And I am also professor for this academic year at University of Trento, one of the leading universities in Italy. I have an executive MBA in both University of Reno, United States of America, and in SDA Bocconi, University of Bocconi, let's say the leading business school and university in Italy. I have also a master's degree in law at the University of Bologna, Italy, the eldest in the world, with specialization in international law. My experience is both academic and professional. I used to be a manager in multinational Italian national companies as chairman, chief executive officer, chief operative officer. And again, as I told before, I am professor at UMEF University, Dunia University, Trento University, but also, and this is also another, I believe, interesting point, in the University of Venice, the Ca' Foscari University. For this course is, I think that I have to underline my experience as board member and vice president of an industry European association in Brussels dealing with European Union and others international organizations. How will be structured this course? The course is divided into 6 lessons of 45 minutes, shown in 3 sessions of 15 minutes each. Each lesson is followed by a question and answer session, and each session of question and answer would constitute 50 minutes over a 45-minute sequence. The course is accompanied by text and audio-video materials and the course guide in the study pack. By successfully completing this course, you would learn how to understand the legal world of international organization. Key aspect of the course. The course is aimed at analyzing the governing law and principal organs function of the most significant existing intergovernmental international organization, and among the letters, specific attention will be devoted to the 2 very important organizations as United Nations, WTO, World Trade Organization, and EU, European Union. So, at the end of the course, students will be able to understand the legal system of international organization, understand how United Nations implements its mission, and also European Union and World Trade Organization. And again, understand the role of United States in trying to reach the target of maintaining peace and security globally. What about the material? I suggest the book of Professor Kleber's, An Introduction to International Organization Law, Cambridge 2015, and PowerPoint is developed after the studies and materials of Professor Kleber's, Professor Carpaneto and Professor Casolari, pursuant the copyright law of Switzerland related to didactics. And after the end of the lesson 1, students who complete this lesson will learn about the following: the word of international organizations in general. Starting point. Any activity in the world, in the life of the world, is linked, is affected by an international organization. So the role of the international organization is absolutely important, and now we have more international organization in terms of number than existing states. We have approximately 300 international organizations, and it's clear that international organization, because of this big size they have in the global life, have influence on other legal systems. So during this course we will try to understand better how international organization works and how is their, how is structured the legal system of the main international organization. Taking also into consideration that international organization, they have what is called a life cycle. That's why we have absolutely to understand all the steps related to this life cycle: creation, functioning, termination. A point that we have again to underline is the lack of theoretical framework. International organization, they don't have a specific legislation like we are used to have in certain countries. And one of the first steps of our course will be to create a better understanding of the legal personality of international organization, and also all the issues related to responsibility. Because, and this will be like a constant issue in our course, there is an existing tension between two competing concepts. From one side, there is the interest of individual states to keep, let's say, their sovereignty, and we will look into a key principle of law of international organization, the principle of attribution of powers. We could say that states try to have, even if they are involved in an international organization, to keep a strong power as individual entity. On the other side, there is an interest of the international community in for reaching the target of having strong international organization. Otherwise, they cannot, develop their role into the international community. And we will have a look to the theory of implied powers. So, principle of attribution of powers and theory of implied powers will be an issue that we will look into, and I will explain you, I hope, in the best way. Finally, we can say that these two different interests needs a compromise between the interest of states to be strong as individual entity, the interest of international organization, even if they have members as member states, to be let's say, a real player on the international world. But just to go deeply in the presentation of the international organization, let's start with Professor Klabbers, the professor I mentioned you before as, how could I say, one of the key point of reference of our subject. Let's start with the first definition again of international organization. International organization is a voluntary association of international actors having a distinct will from member state, subject to the respect of international law, and also has to be a stable entity, having its rules of law and its own bodies, through which it realizes the common purposes of the associated actors by the exercise of particular functions and powers. So, these 4 points are the key points when we present an international organization, and when you have to understand better if an international organization can be considered really a player on the international environment. So, first point, I mentioned the fact that an international organization has to be a voluntary association of states. At least we need, for creating an international organization, we need minimum 2 states. An examples of international organization, one of the first on the history, was the institutionalized cooperation for the management of the river Uruguay between Argentina and Uruguay. This was a first international, let's say, entity starting from some agreements between these 2 countries, and after a certain period the 2 countries decided to create a stable entity. So this is another key point when we talk about a national organization. They have to be stable, and from, let's say, just some contacts for dealing with this issue related to the management of the river, an international organization was born. So, voluntary association of states, but sometimes we can find, and we will see it, also international organization participating in international organization, like we have the membership of European Union in the United States, and also the fact that European Union is also a member of FAO, so the International Association related to food, and WTO, the International Organization related to trade. Let's say that we can consider states as at the same level, the same position in any international organization, even if there are some countries with de facto, in fact, a stronger power. Just think about, for instance, the position of Germany into the European Union. Okay, we need for an international organization member states, but we need also the respect of international law. And in fact, international organizations are generally established by virtue of a treaty, an international treaty, an international act. So states has to decide to create an international organization with a clear intentional act. The international treaties are, let's say, are some differences in comparison with normal treaty, because not generally subject to reservation, all member states should be bound by the same rules, and international organization treaty tend to prevail over all other treaties existing among member states. This concept of reservation is very important in international law, because a state cannot, just to explain you with simple words, cannot sign a treaty saying, okay, I accept the 90% of the treaty, but the 10% only for me has to be different. No, that is not possible. All member states should be bound by the same rules. We have also some examples of international organization created not by virtue of a treaty. Just think to UNICEF, that finally was created via a resolution of the General Assembly of UN, United Nations. Here we have, I would like to mention, start to mention some articles of the UN Charter that is one of the main sources of the international organization, of the law of international organization, and we repeat that the obligation under the present charter, the treaty creating United Nations, will prevail compared to all the other treaties signed by one country. And more or less we have the same concept in the treaty created for the European Union. And again, I don't read you this article, but it's very important that you have available just to better understanding the theory of law of international organization. We say that another key point of an international organization is the stability. We need a stable entity as international organization, and stability is what distinguishes international organization from single summits, single conferences. We need the distance of a body having a distinct will of its member state. But again, as I mentioned before, for the Uruguay River case, summits and conferences may become international organizations. For instance, the Organization for Security and Cooperation in Europe in 1995 became a stable organization. The periodic conference organized to discuss the world trade problems in 1995 became the very important international organization, World Trade Organization. So, from a philosophic point of view, we can say that international organization is a strong, helpful tool in the globalization world, because it is considered substantially a fora. Fora is a Latin word, means that international organization can be like a place, like a square, ideally a square, where member states, where countries can discuss all the main global problems, and for important professors, important scholars in the scholars world, is considered an important factor of civilization. And this is the end of lesson 1, session 1.